Thanks for joining us for another street photography video, and if it's your first time to the channel, my name's Tam. I'm a photographer from Glasgow, and if you've been here before, thanks for coming back again. As a photographer, I've been asked this question like loads of times, and it's what settings are you using? And when I started photography, I used to ask people what settings they're using, and it didn't matter if I was doing like portrait photography, wedding photography, food photography, and even like nightclub photography. People would always ask me what settings I was using, but I always felt rude or secretive because I didn't have settings I always used. I would change my settings all through the night or all through the event or whatever I was doing to try and get different effects. If it was long shutter speed or if it was today with lighting, I always changed my settings. But when it comes to street photography, I have a base setting. I always start with these settings, then I work from there. And today's video is about how I start my settings with me and my street photography. First of all, I'm going to talk about aperture. For me, aperture is the most important setting. On many lenses, f8 is the sweet spot, and it will give you the sharpest image with minimal distortion. Combined with zone focusing, f8 increases your chances of getting a well focused shot without having to stop and autofocus. This works great when you're shooting from the hip. I will do a video on zone focusing at some point. When I might change my aperture is when I'm going to do something like a street portrait. Then I'll probably go down to maybe f2.1 or something with a more shallower depth of field. And also when I might change it is if I'm going to do something like an urban landscape, then maybe I'll go up to f11, maybe even right up to f16. But that's the only times I'll really change it, if I have to, because of the light. The next setting I like to change is my shutter speed. I usually keep that about 1/1000th of a second. At 1/1000th of a second, I know I will be able to freeze the image without having any motion blur. And this can also reduce any motion from myself moving the camera up to my eye to take the shot. I will change my shutter speed if I feel like my ISO is getting too high, and I'll go down to lowest 250th of a second. I don't like going any lower than that. If you go any lower than that, you might actually start getting a wee bit of motion blur if there's things that are moving quite fast. Another time I will change my shutter speed is if I want to try and catch motion blur, like maybe like get people walking by and I'll use a slower shutter speed to try and capture the motion, like street lights, cars going by and get the lights. That's the other time I will change it. The only time I use a faster shutter speed is if it's getting too bright and I can lower my ISO, then I'll adjust my shutter speed to suit. The last setting I like to change is my ISO. I usually have my ISO about 1200. This might be the last setting I change, but it's also the first setting I change if my shot is too dark. When my shot is too dark, the maximum I'll go up to is 3200 ISO, and I won't go any higher than that. Then I will start changing my other settings. Since I started photography, I've always used manual settings, and lately I've been thinking about using auto ISO. And it'd be great if you could put in the comments if you use auto ISO and the advantages and the disadvantages of using it. It'd be great because I'm thinking I'm going to start using it. As I said at the start of the video, I don't really have any settings, but what I do is I have a base setting for when it comes to street photography, and that is my aperture f8, shutter speed 1000 and my ISO 1200. Then I kind of work off all of them. So it'd be great if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, and if you use this, and let me know how it works for you, and if you've got any other methods that you use, if you could put it in the comments, that would be great. I always like to know how people work. So I'd just like to say thanks for watching and see you again.